What's good, everyone?
Welcome to the Illustrated Underground. I'm John, and this is...
I'm Quincy.
And this is where comic books meet culture. We are both lifelong comic fans that have been reading comics and exploring comics and these characters since we were kids, and we are so excited and happy to bring this love that we have to the community and bring the community together. And comic books are huge right now, and it's really exciting for us, and we're ready to share our love with it.
I second that. I feel like comics have always acted as a sign of therapy for me, and just, me coming out of my shell and being more, outgoing and open, and also helping me to just cope with life, because life can be tough. Let's be real.
Yes, comic books are benchmarks for these moments in life, and from when I first opened a comic to now, I can think of all these moments in my life that were impacted by the comics I were reading. I mean, life's impacted by any sort of media or art that you consume, but comics or something. There's something so special about it because it's niche.
Yeah, and I feel like comics. Yeah, and I feel like they also act as a modern mythology. As the Greeks, the Romans, different cultures have their different forms of mythology and stories and folklore. I feel for us, in the 21st century, that's what comics are to us. Modern mythology.
Mythology, American mythology.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to bring something to the community, to the comic book community, but I never really felt like the time was right for me, but with the Superman that came out this summer, I just feel like it's really big right now, and I think that a lot of the comic book community should be a welcoming place, and I want this show to be a place where everybody can talk or share interests about comics, not just people that have been reading it for years and years and years. I want it to be newcomer friendly. So this is really very kind of go with the flow. We have a bunch of different cool ideas for stuff we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
But for this first episode, we're kind of just going to let you guys get to know us, and we're kind of going to just talk it out, and we're going to get used to talking about comics in this format, and we're going to share some of our favorite comics with you, and just what we've been up to, and just see where the conversation goes.
Cool.
But
let's get it rolling.
Yeah. What do comics mean to you? I mean, you kind of touched on that in the beginning, but where do you come at? What is your perspective as a comic book fan? What comics did you grow up on? What is your story?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, John. I feel for me, comics have always been a pivotal role in my life, especially the X-Men, too, just me as, a black male dealing with some of those similar issues too, and them parallel in real life, and, just seeing, different characters embody, these different struggles and going through them. I felt, my, lived experience was embodied within that. But also too, for some, something fun like Spider-Man. Also too, I was a big Power Rangers fan. I know this isn't comics, but just big Power Rangers fan. Jason. So TMNT fan. So just seeing those cartoons and finding out that they were actually based off of comics. Well, TMNT, but Power Rangers now is comic book. But just seeing those the superheroes and what they do. And
who does Power Rangers, by the way? Dynamite or Boom?
Boom Studios.
Boom
Okay. Studios. During elementary school or whatnot, I was, bullied, picked upon, and I really didn't have an outlet, and I felt like comics, were that outlet for me that kind of allowed me just to be in my own world and just take a glimpse into and just go somewhere far away, just as an escape. I just feel that comics just gave me that sense of creativity. Also, too, just making me think about the world around us and the environment around us, because I feel that always comics are political, social, and I feel that they're emotional and that they reflect our worldview and what's going on with us.
So my first comic I ever read, so I grew up on Batman the Animated Series, the Justice League series, the Teen Titans show. I grew up on Spider-Man the Animated Series, Spectacular Spider-Man, Avengers, all the Avengers shows that were happening, the 90s X-Men, so Ninja Turtles, all this stuff, and I grew up playing the video games and seeing the movies, so these were not characters that I was unfamiliar with, but I was really interested in Batman, and I went to my local comic book shop, which, shout out Little Shop of Comics. really, like, they were open for many, many years. Unfortunately, they had to close down during the pandemic, and that was my childhood comic book store. I would not be here if it was not for them. And I just want to highlight comic book stores in general.
Yeah, for sure.
They're the blood of this interest. Without them, there would be no comics. So, like, seriously, support your local comic book shop. Go to your local comic book shop. Talk to people at your local comic book shop. It's great, I promise. Like, that is the best spot to get into all this. And people there will be happy, or they should be happy, to give you recommendations. And that's what I did. I went up to the clerk, and I was like, can I read a Batman book? And she was like, yes. And she was like, what do you want? I was like, I love the villains. So she gave me Batman, The Long Halloween.
That's such a classic. I love it.
Which is the first book we'll talk about here, and it is my favorite Batman story of all time, probably my second favorite comic of all time, maybe my favorite comic of all time, between that and another one that we'll also talk about. But it's so good, like, from the art and the story. And I was young, I was like 11 years old. I didn't fully wrap my head around the story, and don't worry, I've read it like actually like 15 times since then. Even not being able to fully appreciate the conspiracy aspect of it, and like the fact that I don't want to spoil it, but the ending, the twist in the end, and I was like really locked in on these moments, like seeing Batman interact with all these villains, and I realized how cool it was to see the city go from Carmine Falcone, mobster,
Yep.
grounded in reality, like real kind of Italian mobster types, to Joker, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Solomon Grundy. Seeing that transformation and seeing Batman kind of flawlessly, like, okay, like this is it, this is what I'm dealing with now, it's just so like baller to me. Like, he just went from beating up like Catwoman and Carmine Falcone, and then he's fighting a giant like mutant monster, Solomon Grundy. Like, that Solomon Grundy was like a Green Lantern villain. Like, Two-Face being at the center of that story too is so perfect too, because he's the Batman villain. Either him or Mr. Freeze has the best origin, I think. I've been seeing a lot of people hating on Year One all of a sudden.
There was this TikTok I recently watched, and it had talked about how Year One is really not canon anymore. It's not Batman's origin story. How it's like more like Jim Gordon centric, and then like how, like, I guess we're adopting Zero Year as like his newfound origin story.
I like Zero Year. It's a great book. To me, it's not Batman Year One. They're very
for sure.
different.
Nah.
They're very different. It's kind of apples and oranges. Like Year One is more subdued and relaxed, and kind of takes a more like, I think, psychological approach. But then Zero Year is like really like comic booky, and like color. The art is so good in Zero Year. Genuinely, some of the best use of colors I've ever seen in a comic. And I really do commend Scott Snyder for how fresh that origin feels to a character that's been around for like 85 years. So great there, but Year One is so like classic and pivotal to me. Like, there are so many moments that stick in my head. One of my favorite page from all of comic books is when he goes out for the first time, Bruce, and he gets the crap beaten out of him, and he's sitting on his chair like just beaten, and the bat comes through his window, and he's like, I shall become a bat. So powerful, so cool. Or when he's like, you have feasted on Gotham's spirit for long enough, and he puts out the flame. Iconic. Crazy good. But yeah, no, Batman is great. Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb, like, my favorite Batman story, Superman story, and Spider-Man story are all by those two. Those two are the GOATs. Like, something about them, they bring like a softness to their art where it's not like abrasive. Not that it's like abrasive. It's like the opposite of like Todd McFarlane, where it's like in your face and like comic booky. They're kind of like, let's take a step back, and like it almost looks like watercolor-esque. Like, it's really nice. When I think of like the first big run that I read, where it was like I read like 100 plus pages, 100 plus issues of a comic, it was Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I read it throughout high school, from like end of sophomore year to like senior year, beginning of senior year, and it was a ride. It was such a trip. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man, for most of my comic reading career, I just read DC to kind of keep it neat for myself and not, overwhelm myself. And then I started to turn to Marvel more and more and read more Marvel. And now I kind of try to read 50-50. Spider-Man, like reading Ultimate Spider-Man, I was like, this really feels like I'm like reading a cartoon. Like I could see all the cartoons that I grew up on were based on this. Like Spectacular Spider-Man, like all Ultimate Spider-Man is like like so much from the movies, the cartoons, they take it from there. It's great. Like I think that the first 6 issues of that, like his origin, is one of the best superhero origin arcs in a comic ever. So underrated. Not that it's underrated because people like it, but like read that. If you have not read Ultimate Spider-Man in the first 6 issues, you don't have to read the whole thing. Read the first 6 issues. It's a great jumping on point for Spider-Man as a character. That run is just crazy.
Like, I just love its grounded storytelling, being that, like, you see a different Peter Parker, and especially, like, at the time, the Ultimate Universe was, like, a reimagining for new readers.
Well, it modernized him.
It modernized him, but it was also, like, a fresh start, so, like, you didn't have to go and, like, get started,
Because Marvel famously doesn't reboot.
Exactly. So it was, like, kind of like a soft reboot, but not, like, for
a
different universe. Yeah. Just a different interpretation of the villains, like, Green Goblin, his design in that.
Oh, I love
it.
that Green
Sick.
Goblin. So good. The video game, too, Ultimate Spider-Man the game on the PS2, great. Love that game.
And I just love, like, the reimaginings and the characters we got, the dialogue, too, and, like, how it's so different from, Earth 616 Spider-Man,
Some of my favorite issues from that comic that I want to highlight that meant a lot to me. There's the one when he tells MJ that he's Spider-Man, or she finds out, and they have this just conversation for the whole issue. Super powerful, really good. Obviously, the beginning issues are really good. But, like, right from the start, like, there's this... the first arc is about, like, Green Goblin. And then they go into this arc where Kingpin is merchandising Spider-Man stuff and profiting off of it. Such a cool, like, fresh idea. Like, taking these characters and doing something fun with them.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man has an arc where, like, it's referencing the real-life Sam Raimi movies, which is insane. Like, Doc Ock is, like, attacking a movie set that Sam Raimi is directing. It breaks the fourth wall. It's insane, and it shouldn't work, but it does. It's entertaining. What else? There's also the issue where he's going to Spanish class. He has a Spanish test, and Rhino is just like trashing the downtown. He's just trying to get to his test, and it's just like a slice of life comic. Really good. There are some weird moments from it.
Yeah.
Like when he swaps bodies with Wolverine.
I was gonna say that, and then Venom, just Eddie Brock. Like
you didn't like Venom from that?
Well, like Eddie Brock was kind of.
Oh, he was creepy. I remember this. Yeah, he was weird. Yeah. So definitely some interesting decisions. And I don't know how I feel about Spider-Man dating Kitty Pryde either. That was weird.
Yeah.
But and then it kind of like the end is it ties it together, and it's a very sad ending. Yeah. And it leads to Miles Morales, who's the GOAT. Ultimate Spider-Man just like, it felt like he was growing up alongside me, and I don't know, just it felt like a very relatable comic in a lot of ways. So that one, really cool. All right, segue into my next one, which is kind of, I feel like, similar to Ultimate Spider-Man, and I started to read it like a bandwagoner when the show came out. A big one. We're going to separate from Marvel and DC. Invincible. I got a lot to say about Invincible, but you could start talking about Invincible.
I feel like Invincible, like, and this is just like, y'all, I haven't got up to, like, finished it. So I'm
he's a show watcher.
No,
he's a show watcher.
Yeah, but it's a different experience than
it's paced very differently.
It's paced very differently because the way the show picks up is not the way the comic picks up. Like the whole Guardians of the Globe thing, I think doesn't happen until issue 6 or 7.
Yeah,
in the
6
comic.
Or 7.
But also just a lot of the characters are different too, and just a lot of the events. But I love Invincible, just like, especially around that time, like 2000, you kind of had, like, a teenage superhero. Yeah, we have Spider-Man or whatnot, but it was something different, you know?
What I love about Invincible is just like, okay, with Ultimate Spider-Man, the ball rolls, and then he gets a break, and then, well, I don't know if he gets too much of a break. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man really does go through it, but, like, with Invincible, the ball starts rolling and he just starts going through trauma and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And it's like you're watching this dude who's your age and he grows up throughout it. That's what I love. Who's like your age or like around your age, just go through the actually like torture, like the worst stuff known to man, and he just keeps prevailing and he's invincible. That is such a cool core concept, and like the situations they put him in throughout that series is insane. Like watching the show, reading the comic, whatever, like just seeing him like conquest, like my jaw was on the floor when I read that comic. Like I was like, and then when the show came out, I knew he was coming. I knew what was gonna happen, and the whole episode, I was like,
yeah,
they're doing a good job with the show. I think the show has potential to be better than the comic overall.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and especially with like some of the like alternative storylines they're taking, the growth and depth they're like placing on the characters too.
Yeah.
You know, especially like with, you know, Omni-Man's like redemption arc coming up soon, you know.
Omni-Man is such a good character. I love him. And he's maybe my favorite character from the comic because he's so complicated and it's not just evil Superman. Like,
exactly. He's more grounded.
He's human. He's a guy. Like, he's very like, he makes a lot of decisions that feel like selfish, but also decisions that a lot of people would make.
Yeah.
Like, and he's in it for his family, and that's honest and true, I feel like.
For sure.
Omni-Man's a great character. And the villains from Invincible are crazy, too.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, like, Powerplex, Drag. Oh, I can't wait for that.
And then my last book that I want to talk about, which is my favorite comic of all time, and we will also probably do an episode on this comic, because I feel like you could talk about it forever. Watchmen.
Yes.
Watchmen is was such a pivotal moment in me realizing that comics can be more than just superhero stories.
Exactly.
And there are superheroes in it, but Watchmen is far from a superhero story. I would say if there's anybody listening to this, any of my friends or anything that is not into comics and is just tuning in for me, first of all, thank you. But if you're not into comics, read this book. If you are into reading in any capacity, read that book. It is one of the most, in my opinion, important pieces of literature ever. It's super important. Mm-hmm. It deserves a spot on the top 500 books of all time. What it does that a lot of comics can't do, it really stands among I always tell people that it's taught in AP English classes. This is taking the concept of comics and very looking at it from an outsider view. And the art is gorgeous too. Oh my God, some of the best comic book art ever. I think of so many moments from that just have stuck with me as a person. Dr. Manhattan is such a scary representation of an existential crisis. And it's if a human had these Superman-like abilities, they would not be wouldn't that kind of scare us? It would scare us. It's a scary thing if you think about it, to be so powerful, to have all that responsibility. And so that issue when he goes to Mars and he's reflecting on his past life. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. So one of my favorite issues of a comic ever.
I also feel just relating characters to the political and social subcontext. It was one of I feel of its time. That's why I love comics from the 80s and 90s, because they were so transformative and reflected the worldview.
Coming straight off the Cold War.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was talked about that. And one thing I love is how it talked about comedian, because his characters all types are wrong or whatnot, and just he's the embodiment of what I guess America is. I feel just we put on this facade that we're patriotic and a great country, but at this we have some issues as well, and we have a dark past, and I feel that.
And he kind of has that mentality of I am America.
Exactly, and I feel he goes in with that, but you see he's not a good person. He's very he's not even morally great. He's just a straight up bad person. That's what I love about Watchmen, that you see that these people, these characters aren't straight up superheroes. They're morally complex, morally ambiguous, or just straight up like, you know, either they're morally gray or either they're just like, you know, borderline pure evil.
I think the decision to make the whole story like surround the comedian and his death is kind of like Alan Moore being like, yeah, I'm gonna talk about this. Like, this is a very uncomfortable part of like American history with like at the time, like what America represented was not something good, and he's killing it dead. Like, he is commenting on it, and like he takes such a strong like stance on what was going on during the Cold War and stuff, and I think it's just a very interesting, even like political text.
That's what I'm saying. Like within the political and social subcontext within the book.
One of my favorite not just comic book villains, one of my favorite villains of all time, and I put it in quotes, but it's up for debate. Ozymandias, and I don't condone what he does, but I think that it's very like, is he really the villain of the story?
Exactly. The way he's written.
Yeah, and he has that moment at the end. Again, we're talking about like big villain moments. Earlier, he is like, I'm not a dumbass. I already did my plan 30 minutes ago. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you're reading these villain plans always, and you're waiting for them to say that. And Alan Moore knows that the reader is self-aware of what's going on in these comics. So he has this moment with the villain where the guy's like, yeah, you in the audience, you don't know anything. You don't know nothing. That's so good. Such a good writing moment.
Exactly.
Such a good piece of dialogue. I feel like it always starts with the characters.
For sure.
You know, you're drawn to these characters. I mean, I grew up watching Batman the Animated Series and The Batman and like all these like classic Batman shows, and I always loved Batman from when I was a little kid, and like learning more about him and like, you know, having opportunities to like, the comics is where you can really dive in deep. So I was like drawn to that, and I feel like it's really always starts with these characters because they're so strong. Because comics, that's why I think we could say that comics are like a mythology, because it's about these characters that a bunch of different people are writing lore to and contribute little pieces to. If you look at somebody like Batman or like Spider-Man or these Superman, like these really big characters that have been around for like 75 years plus. Like, it's insane to see the lore that they just have behind them and what they represent to so many different people. And like, if you just take these like mainstream characters alone and you look at their movies and books and comics and everything that like they built up, it's insane. And it really does start with the characters. It starts with a really good idea for a character that like hooks people.
I do, and I actually wanted to touch upon that. So what are some of your favorite characters, like heroes, villains, if you want to do like, you know, top 5, or what would you say?
I'm a big Batman guy, so I got to get this out of the way. I got to come clean. I'm a Batman guy. I've obsessed with Batman, but I'm not annoying about it. I'm not one of those people that's like, Batman can defeat anybody and he's the best superhero of all time.
He souls fiction.
Yeah, he souls fiction. I just like him. So I've read a lot of Batman comics. I have read a lot of other comics, and I like to branch out. So I will take the role of the Batman fan who is, you know, scared to read other stuff. I'm just kidding, but like it's I love Batman. That's my big guy. In terms of Marvel, I think one of my favorites is either like Daredevil or Spider-Man. Again, basic, but I love these characters so much. When I was a kid, and I know you want to talk about this, but I'm gonna yoink this opportunity from you. The Question, the go.
Yo, I love The Question. I just love, especially the Dennis O'Neil and Dennis Cohen run during the 80s, because I loved like the whole noir aspect of it, but also like tying it in with that, and also too like just, you know, him questioning morality, him questioning like just the things around him, his even like own existence, art, you know, it is so many things, and it's just like I love him, and I hope James Gunn, this is to you, I hope you do him right in the DCEU. Like, come on.
Yeah, we're talking to you, James Gunn. You better put The Question in the DCU now, because I feel like he's going for like a JLU kind of vibe. I'm getting that like mix between JLU and like DC New Frontier. Maybe I'm just crossing my fingers and being hopeful, but I think he could really do something cool with The Question, because The Question was pivotal in like all the stuff with Argus and the jail
and the Cadmus arc in Justice League Unlimited. Like, I love that arc, and I love that. What I do like about James Gunn is him putting like lesser known characters at the forefront of like, you know, his narratives and his storytelling. question definitely deserves that, like, just in order to get to know him, because he is an interesting character, and I would say his detective skills are on the level of Batman. I know you're a Batman fan, but, I feel like he is, and I feel like he doesn't get that much like love. You see how he operates within his environment, and I'm currently taking film noir right now, and like we definitely see how it reflects film noir, how that was based
100%.
off of that.
Comics as a whole, like a lot of these characters are noir, like Daredevil, Batman,
Exactly.
like even like Punisher a little bit is like
yeah.
very noir, and they have these. The villains are very like noir, especially Punisher. Like Jigsaw is like a straight up like noir villain from like an old movie or something, which is so cool. Hulk, I think, is one that a lot of like mainstream audiences think is kind of lame or weird, which sucks because the MCU did him so dirty.
I wanna talk about that. I feel like he's definitely like a character that hasn't gotten enough exposure. Like there's a ton of good Hulk runs. Like there's the Peter David run. There is Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, where he gets his get back, and
Planet Hulk is really good.
Exactly.
World War Hulk.
Really? Okay.
I think it falls off in quality, but Planet Hulk, so good. I love anything John Romita Jr. I'm a sucker for anything that dude draws.
I do, yeah. I do. Peter David Hulk.
You got to shout out the Color series. Hulk Gray is so good. I think it's the second best of the Color series. I think it's better than Daredevil and Yellow, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's my hot take. I know some people might not agree with that, but also, why would you listen to the opinion of somebody wearing an Aquaman shirt?
Immortal Hulk, duh.
Immortal Hulk is so good.
But like, what the point is I'm trying to make is like, Hulk as a character has so much to offer, and the MCU just like really didn't give him that much exposure. And like, now I know I think Mark Ruffalo wants to do a solo Hulk movie.
Yeah, Hulk is so dope. And I just want to, the thing with the MCU, I don't know about you, I really am not interested in the MCU. And that's part of what has been exciting me about comics, the fact that for years and years and years, the MCU felt like the pulse of the of the comic industry, sadly. It felt like a lot of the comics were trying to be based off of the MCU, and it felt like a lot of the other movies that were not MCU based were trying to be MCU based, and it does not. It gets to a point where it's like exhaustion. And it's like, I hear a lot of people who, especially people who are not comic book fans, that are very superhero fatigued. And then Superman came out this summer, and I think was such a big movie. And Superman's not my favorite comic book movie in the world, but I think that we needed it right now.
I do.
I think the just comic books needed to be represented in that way, and it's such an authentic representation of the industry and the character. And Superman is like, I know there's a lot of people that do not like Superman, but I think he's truly one of the best comic book characters. He has so much depth to him if he's written correctly, and like his stories can be so like uplifting, and I don't know, I love him. Superman's great.
I love Superman too, but the way I was introduced to Superman was through Smallville.
I love
through
Smallville.
that show, and yeah, I know while we didn't get
still the GOAT Lex Luthor, by the way.
Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum is a GOAT Lex Luthor, and then voice actor Clancy Brown, he is so good, love him, and
Yes.
I love how like they depicted Clark Kent just in his adolescence, because that definitely like it reminded me of Superman for All Seasons. And then when I went to go read and pick up that book, I just saw parallels. It was really like,
you read it recently.
I read it recently because I wanted to get prepped up for the Superman movie. So just seeing that, and then obviously watching Smallville, I felt that it was really like just a parallel, and there was a really lot to unpack there from like how he wants to be there for everybody, but at the same time, he can't, because he feels
he feels like he's the world's sole protector.
Exactly.
Which is so cool. And I think the thing of like evil Superman is so overdone too.
I was gonna mention that too. Like, I feel that like Superman as just like a whole, like within that universe, didn't really fit, because Superman doesn't fit in a dark world, in a dark atmosphere. That's the whole thing about like Batman and Superman. One operates in the light, one operates in the darkness. And that's why, bringing Nightwing to the mix, who's one of my favorite DC characters, superheroes of all time. He's
a little bit of both.
He's a little bit of both, because you see that balance. You see that balance, like, of him, having, Bruce's tendencies, and, him operating. Sometimes he has to put on the good cop, bad cop. But I feel that, like, for Superman, it doesn't really work. It doesn't work. You need to have him be optimistic, and I didn't get that from Henry Cavill's Superman. I didn't get
it
that
doesn't
at all.
work. You
Yeah.
can't. So Batman, I think what Zack Snyder was inspired by was seeing The Dark Knight,
Yeah.
which is a very important superhero movie, but it's kind of, you can't do that to every character.
For sure.
It's like Batman, it works because there is kind of a groundedness to him, but I don't think, I prefer not to see like superheroes as these grounded characters all the time. Like, I like when their problems are grounded, but these are, like, comics are insane. Like, my favorite comic book author is Grant Morrison, who has some of like the craziest, most outlandish moments in comics that just are like taking full advantage of the medium. It's almost like everything that they write is just like aware that it's a comic, and I love that. I think that's so cool. Yeah, I could talk about Grant Morrison all day. In fact, we will do an episode.
Yeah,
on
we're
Grant
gonna do an
Morrison.
episode devoted to
100%.
all your favorite comic book creators.
Yeah, so if you guys can think of anything like that you want to see in the future, also let us know. We are so happy
Right.
to have, you know, people on as guests. If
Of
you
course.
have something that you want to bring to the table, bring it to us, because we want this to be for everyone. I think villains are like so cool in comics too. Like I was always interested in the villains.
Me
I
too.
always loved stories when I was a kid where you could get a lot of villains in like one package. Like Hush, I read Hush
Mhm.
as one of my first Batman stories, and I don't love that book, but
As for villains, I love villains who are like well written, complex, they're layered, like Omni-Man, Homelander, right? Or like have justifiable
Omni-Man,
motives.
I don't think Omni-Man's a villain.
Well, like
I feel like
he's a villain with justifiable motives.
yeah, in the
Like,
beginning he's a
in
villain.
the beginning, yeah, you could say he's more of an anti-hero. The same thing you could say for Magneto, which is one of my favorite comic book
So
villains
good.
of all time.
So
Because
good.
yeah, he does. He's like done some villainous stuff. He does, kill people. He does terrorize. Yes, but then to understand why he does it, like he's a villain with justifiable motives. There's a method to what he's saying, and you see that within like his actions or whatnot. And while he may be like this terrorizing figure, I feel like at some points he isn't really a villain. He's an anti-hero. Like in Brian Michael Bendis' Uncanny X-Men, I feel like you get to see that side of him, and even in some instances where he's led the X-Men,
Yeah.
and he's like taking on that role. Even in X-Men '97, you see that, and he has an alternative way for leading the X-Men to where he doesn't want to appease two humans, because he feels that appeasing two humans is like, okay, well, they're not going to care about us, they're just going to use us and exploit us until
Yeah.
they get what they want. And villains like that, you understand why they are the way they are, because they have justifiable motives. And I love that about Magneto. I love that, like how he's so just complex, and his motives, which lead him to his actions. Maybe not always right, but you can understand why. You can understand the why. Whereas people like Homelander, like they're straight up evil, like pure evil. Palpatine, pure evil, like people like that. But like even like Bullseye, and especially the way the
Love
MCU is doing
Bullseye.
him, like they're like he's getting well written, and he's such a well written character. Yeah. Like he's such a well written character in the MCU and even in comics, like to where you
He's
understand.
scary.
He's scarier. He's
'Cause,
scarier.
well, it's with Bullseye. What scares me about him is that he's so like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Like when he's like almost like inhuman. Like he's a robot. When he has a target, it's
He's dead
like,
set.
He's like Bullseye. Like he
Right.
is focused on that person, and he's like a stalker. He's creepy. I will never like it is burned into my brain when he. Spoiler alert for a comic that's everyone should read, but he kills Elektra, and it's this like shocking page, and it's like those villain moments where they have the table to just do something insane like that is rare, and I love them. Like there's Bane breaking Batman's
Yep.
back, obviously. I haven't fully read this story, but I know Doctor Doom when he like grabs Thanos' spine.
Another villain that comes to mind, Norman Osborn, and
So good.
I'm not saying the Green Goblin, because I feel like Norman Osborn just as
He
a
encompasses
character.
everything.
Norman Osborn as Green Goblin, as Dark Iron Patriot, or Dark Iron, or whatever you want to call him, when he was leading the Dark Avengers, which I would say, like within I think 2005, 2010, that's when Marvel was cooking up. I feel that like you had Secret Invasion, and him being at the like manipulating and being kind of like the shot caller within that, and having his own team of the Thunderbolts, which I'm currently reading that run right now. The Siege and Dark Reigner, and seeing how he is manipulating like the puzzle pieces and within like the villains, and how he's trying to portray this persona to like the media and public is like, yeah, we're the Avengers, we're cleaning up, we're doing good. But then you see him over here plotting with, Doom and Namor and the Hood, the Cabal and all that, and you see him like establishing something bigger.
Chess pieces.
Exactly, and like that's what I love about his character. He's so calculated.
He's always playing games.
Exactly, and that's what I love about his character. I love that
he if you want to see some crazy Green Goblin antics, read Superior Spider-Man.
Yo,
he gets up to some crazy plans in that. Like, his arc in the end is insane. That is honestly, another great Spider-Man run. Very interesting take on the character. Very villain-centric, because Doc Ock is the main character.
Yeah.
I want to read that Spider-Man story, the Spider-Man book called Superior Foes of Spider-Man. About like,
heard of that.
You've never heard of it?
No.
It's like the new Sinister Six. But it's like all like D-list villains. Like I think it's like Boomerangs in it, Beetles in it, like a bunch of like random characters, and it's supposed to be like super funny. I've been meaning to check it out for a while. That one's pretty cool. Like, what's the first comic that you think of that like got you hooked? Like this was a crazy good medium.
That's a good question. For me, like I feel like my first comic ever that I read, Weapon X. I feel like that's one of that's like a top 5 origin stories of all time in my opinion, because I love the character Wolverine. Like I feel that like down to his core, he's heavily misunderstood, and he's been through like so much, and even like reflecting the stuff that I've been in my life, just like with bullying, like my own struggles with mental health. Wolverine has this healing factor, but really emotionally, mentally, like he doesn't
never heal.
Exactly, and you see that within the comic, like he's being tested and experimented on, and like he's trying to find a way out.
Great art, by the way.
Exactly, and he's like trying to find a way out, trying to find an escape, an outlet, but not only like physically but mentally. He's really trying to just find himself and find his place in the world, and that's what I love about like just Wolverine and
it's like a wolf just wandering.
Exactly, and that's what I love about him in like different stories like Greg Rucka's run, where he's just like on the road and like kind of just mind his own business, and really trouble finds him, and he's really at the same time when he's like moving alone, moving slowly, he's just trying to find peace.
Yeah,
and
the man just wants a beer.
Exactly.
So yeah, what are some other comics that? So you like the X-Men a lot? Daredevil.
I
think we should talk about Daredevil a little bit.
I feel like
Daredevil comics.
Oh no, for sure. Like I feel that Daredevil, like especially Brian Michael Bendis and Ed Brubaker's run, like so chef's kiss. Because I felt like Daredevil has never had a bad run in comics either. Like Miller, Charles Soule, Bendis, Brubaker, Zdarsky.
Zdarsky's.
I'm not really caught up on some of the new stuff really, but I think I'm not really.
I don't know who's.
Yeah, but I'm not really caught up with the new stuff. But like, he's never really had a bad run in comics. I felt that like I love street level stories, within comics.
Originally, we were gonna make this first episode actually all about the Absolute Universe.
Yeah.
So I think we could dedicate some time to just talking about the Absolute Universe real quick. And have you read some of the Absolute stuff? Have you more observed it? Are you interested in reading it?
It's a bit of both. Like, it's a bit of both. I would say I've observed. Mostly I've read Batman, obviously, and Martian Manhunter is really what I've tapped into. I've heard that Flash is good, and I need to give it some love too. So definitely I got to check out Flash. Wonder Woman I've heard is good too. But I definitely think that that they have like really good like runs, especially like the way Batman's like portrayed. He's like this like big diesel like brawling dude, and the way like he's pretty much like just championed, and it's just like he's still like the same Batman that we know, but just like middle class Batman, and like I feel like that adds an effect too. That he's more like in down with like kind of like so the social class or non-social economic
status. I think making him middle class or low, like have more of a financial struggle makes his character very interesting. It's a very interesting, fresh take, and Scott Snyder knows how to do that. I think the Batman is good. It is definitely not my favorite absolute. I'll rank them in a second for everybody because I've been reading more or less. Some of them I've fallen off with, but I've been reading all of them more or less. And the thing I love about the Absolute Universe is they have so much respect for the characters' roots, where it's like they're complete reinventions of them, but they're also like still the same characters. Like I can really see Absolute Batman as a version of Batman. I think the Absolute Batman story is a little bit too focused on action for me. I think I like to see more detective stuff, but I get it. That's not really what this Batman is all about. He's more about, he's got the axe and, you know, the ears and all these crazy tools to just beat up goons and go crazy. And it's a spectacle. And it's not something I've seen in Batman comics, and just the way everyone is like tuned in waiting for the next Batman villain to be like completely, you know, redesigned or in this crazy, like the Joker. Everybody's talking about Jokerzilla. Like that's insane. Like it is over the top. It's metal.
Bane,
I'll use the word
man.
metal.
Oh my gosh, like the way Bane is, man.
Dude, because the way that Absolute Batman is built is the way that regular Bane is.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make a character that's already bigger? They just lean into it. They're like, all right, let's just go crazy. He's just a blob of muscle. Scary. Mr. Freeze too.
Yo, yeah.
Scary. Really cool stuff. I want to highlight, and Absolute Martian Manhunter is also very good.
I love it.
The art was Javier Rodriguez, I think. Yeah, it's Javier Rodriguez. This guy does great art. He did. Have you ever read History of the Marvel Universe by Mark Waid?
I've not.
Really good.
Okay.
That's another one where it's like you just get such a good view of like everything. Like it just steps. I know he's doing one for DC now too, where he just does like the history of the universe from the beginning to now. He also did Zatanna Bring the House Down. I started that. It was really good, and I just got distracted, but I got to go back to that one. It's another really good one. But yeah, Absolute Universe. So those two are really good. I'll give my ranking real quick, and I'll let you kind of talk about stuff a little bit. I think the best one, in my opinion, overall now, and this is my hot take, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is my favorite of the Absolute titles. I think that the take that they're taking on her character, Kelly Thompson is taking on her character, is so interesting and different and fresh. And I love Wonder Woman as a character. Give her a big sword and a skeleton horse. Like, that's really, really, really cool. Like, that's undeniably cool. And I love all the stuff they're doing with magic, because the magic in the DC universe is so interesting. And tying it into one of the big three, like the Trinity, such a cool idea. Such a cool idea. So that's my number one. Number two, Martian Manhunter, obviously. The art's great. It's really good. 3, Batman, probably.
Okay.
And Superman is 4. Superman took a little bit, I feel like, to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But once the reveal, like the first film comes and goes from there, it really does get good and interesting. And it's had some really, really good issues. So Superman and Batman are kind of neck and neck. Then Flash. Flash is very good.
I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a very like interesting interpretation of the characters. I'm not caught up with the Flash, but I read a decent bit of it. I think I'm only like a few issues behind, and it's very good. The one that I probably am not going to continue to read, and it kind of sucks, is Green Lantern. I know a couple other people are kind of feeling the same way. It was really hard for me to connect with this lore that it expects you to like know something. I don't know.
Yeah, like expect you to kind of infer that this is happening based off of this knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it just gets over like confusing too. Like you were talking about like Black and Night, and I feel like you definitely need to read some stuff before you get into that, you know. And that's what I feel like with certain, you know, cosmic level events that, you know, occur. Like I feel like you need to like be read up on that. That's my only problem with that. I mean, same with the street level stuff too. Like for Devil's Reign, like you need to read like a lot of Zdarsky's like Daredevil stuff, his stuff with Daredevil and Elektra, at least to understand it and what's going on. So I do like understand that, like, you know, it can be, you know, a lot. So yeah, but I haven't heard about like Absolute Green Lantern.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of feeling that way with it. I've heard a few people that aren't reading it anymore. But like I think it's an important point to make that like comics are very intimidating, and there's a lot of people that are into these movies, shows, video games, whatever, but don't want to take the leap to get into the comics because it's like, where do I start? And I think that the best thing to say, you should pitch into this too, because like to say to somebody who's just starting, I would say first go to your local comic book store.
Yeah,
They'll
sure.
help you. Like they know their stuff, hopefully. And like they will kind of guide you in the right way, and there's no right or wrong answer. If you're reading something and you like what you're reading, then bingo, you're doing it right. Like you pick a character or an author that you really like and go from there. And there are plenty of stories that you can read with no background knowledge and enjoy. Like I have friends that I've made read comics that have no background knowledge of these characters, and they're still able to follow. Like Long Halloween, Batman Year One, the ones we're talking about now that are like classics that are timeless. And don't focus too much on. It's tempting to be like, oh, I'm just going to read all the new stuff because everybody's talking about it. But read what matters to you. Read what you want to read. You know, like DCKO is fun to read. You know, and the Absolute stuff is fun to read. But if that's not what you're interested in, then don't force yourself to read it. You know.
Exactly. Like, that's where I really am with comics. Like I really don't read a lot of the new stuff, which is why like I'm really unfamiliar with some of like the new stuff. Other like Absolute, like I try to keep up. Like say if I don't like read
Absolute
books,
Batman
I'll
is
try
like
to...
cultural.
Oh no, for sure. That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Even if you're not reading it, I have friends that have never read a comic in their life, never talked to me about comics, hitting me up, being like, "Yo, did you see what Absolute Mr. Freeze looks like?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did, but how did you? Like, you are not into comics, so these characters are like reaching out with this.
Exactly.
It's cultural."
And I just feel like I just like pick a certain run of a character and I just like read it. I won't like try to like keep up with like the newest like issues or whatnot. Like Absolute, most definitely, like especially with Batman, yeah. But like, just generally, I was like, nah,
What about like outside of comics? We've been talking about comics a lot because that's our main thing. But like, we also are big like just superhero guys, like superhero movies, video games. What are some of like your favorite superhero movies or like stuff like that? I don't know.
Okay, bet. Get ready. About to name my top 5. All right.
Top 5. Okay.
All
We're
right,
doing a top 5. Let's do it.
All right. So I would definitely say like Batman '89. Like I just love like Michael Keaton's portrayal of Batman. I love the German expressionism in the film and the Tim Burton films. I also love like how like you see the duality within Michael Keaton's Batman. Like I love that.
Wait. I'm gonna interject.
Okay.
A little debate moment. I think that Batman Returns is a much better movie than
Batman '89.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that it's a more unique Batman story.
Okay.
I feel like it's more Tim Burton-y, in my opinion. Oh my God, I can see the pitchforks. Chill. I love that it's a Christmas story. I think that its interpretation of Penguin is so like different and cool.
Yeah.
Like the Joker is very like, I don't know. He's very the Joker from Batman '89 is very safe, I feel like, for the most part. I mean, it is a cool interpretation of the character. I don't like how they give him an origin in it too much. I feel like making him the guy that killed Batman's parents, is stupid.
I feel like just like the way like their dynamic is what I really like, and I love
That's
Jack
fair.
Nicholson portrayal because I felt like from that time Tim Burton's probably like looked at The Shining, looked at stuff that Jack Nicholson was in, like the horror aspect, and while like Joker isn't like that type of person, he's like I feel like he's derived within
It's a
like
cool
horror.
interpretation.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and I love that, because I feel like each
Jack Nicholson
Joker,
is great casting.
I feel like each of the Jokers represent something differently. Like I feel like Joaquin Phoenix, you have the psychosis of the Joker. Heath Ledger's Joker, you have more of a Joker who's like more of a brawler, more of like a physical posing threat at times, but also
he's also a symbol too.
That's what I'm saying. He's also a symbol, and he's also like he also is a manipulator, manipulates the puzzle pieces, really like intellectual. Whereas Jack Nicholson's Joker is really just a gangster, like mafia
He's a comic villain
type Joker. Yeah, and I feel like that's the aspect. But I do agree that I feel like when it comes to a Tim Burton type film, I do think that Batman Returns does embody that, especially within the German expressionism with like the architecture, with the like the moves, the shadows, the like cinematography. Yes,
I love Batman Returns. One of my favorite underrated superhero movie, honestly.
Oh,
all right,
for sure.
Continue your list. I'm sorry to interject, but I had to throw that in there.
TMNT 1990.
Classic.
I love TMNT 1 and 2, but I want to pick the first one because I love the grounded dark storytelling and like being able to mix that with like the comedy, the lightheartedness.
Classic.
It is like, you know, straight up from like the Eastman and Laird, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, like comic, and I love that.
I love the Ninja Turtles.
I love that.
I love the Ninja Turtles.
And I love the fight scenes, like, you know, Casey versus Raphael, Shredder versus the Turtles. Like, I love those fight scenes. I love like the Shredder in this movie. Like,
Shredder,
he's very menacing.
He's a great villain.
He's very
just
menacing.
in general.
Yeah,
I
for
love,
sure.
I love Shredder.
For sure.
He's the goat. TMNT 1990 is good, and the sequel has the rap song.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice. Yeah.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Yeah, that is those movies are great. And I was just talking about this the other day with somebody. Have you ever seen the head? Somebody bought it, and it's just sitting in somebody's house. Imagine like going into somebody's house, you walk in, and you just see that on their mantle. I would run. Like, that is like one of the scariest things you can own, I feel like. That thing is freaky. All right, your next pick.
So, number 3 is X-Men Days of Future Past. And I know a lot of people, there's going to be pitchforks. Why not X2? Why not the Wolverine? And I love those movies, but I feel like X-Men Days of Future Past is a bridge between, like, you know, the older X-Men movies and the newer ones with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. And I love their portrayals of Professor X and Magneto. Like, I love it. I absolutely love, like, how Professor X kind of just, like, broken. Just, like, the political and social subcontext regarding, like, mutants within the film, and also, like, them being, like, you know, broken, lost.
It's very faithful. It's faithful to the comic, too.
It is. No, it is.
For the most part.
I love, and that's what I love. Like, I love the originality it takes. Yeah, so while it may not be, like, panel for panel, I do love the creative direction this movie takes in, like, reimagining the comic, and also, like, serving as, like, a beautiful sequel to X-Men First Class. Number 4, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Come on. I don't think I even need to say anything.
So
all I need to say is Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. Cooked.
It's incredible.
Cooked.
Genuinely incredible.
Cooked.
Some of my favorite Batman moments ever. Actually, probably my favorite Batman moment ever is from that movie where he's at his parents' grave, and he just wants to marry Andrea Beaumont, and he just wants to be happy, and he's found this happiness, and he is begging and pleading with the spirit of his parents to give him the opportunity to just be happy. And what's so tragic and sad about it, and like shows that Batman is very mentally ill, like he's not well, is that his parents, of course, they would want him to be happy. His parents would not want him to dress up as a bat and start beating up people. Like, that is not what they wanted for him. But he feels just like in debt to them for his whole life, and he'll never be able to escape that. So it's like it's a dialogue with his parents, but it's really a dialogue with himself. And Kevin Conroy gives like a beautiful performance in that scene. He does. And the Phantasm is a villain. Yes. I'm sorry, I'm rambling about this movie. It's so
I love it. No, I love it. I love it. And this is really hard for me because, like, blending in the animated and live action, like, this
so
is hard.
You could do like almost a separate list.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah. All right, you're next.
My 5th and final, Avengers: Infinity War. And I will die on this hill and say that it was better than Endgame. And the reason why I say that is because, like, the storytelling, the action fight scenes, I feel like the anticipation, preparing you for Endgame, what's about to happen. I feel like leaving on such, like, a dope cliffhanger, like, yo. Like, yo.
I think that Avengers Endgame is more of, like, an experience than it is a movie. And I love Avengers Endgame. It's great. But I have rewatched it maybe once or twice since since seeing it in the theaters originally in 2019. Infinity War I've watched like a decent amount of times. Like, Infinity War is very, 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 very rewatchable, and it feels more tight as a movie. And it's like it's a villain movie about like Thanos, and he's really like the focus of it, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I love it. I just love the action scenes. There's like a lot of cool and iconic moments.
So, I don't know how you didn't talk about these. Criminal, honestly. Into and Across the Spider-Verse, it's kind of cheating to put both of them. But, like, that changed what I thought a comic book movie could be in the theaters. I mean, so beautiful. The animation. It helped me realize that, honestly, I think animated comic movies are the way to go. I think comics just translate better to animation than they do live action. And live action comic book movies are great, don't get me wrong. But, like, what Into the Spider-Verse is able to, and Across, are able to capture with the animation is so comic book like. It's so cool. And just like the character moments in that. Again, like comics are all about these character moments, and Miles as a character is just like so good. Like that leap of faith scene, everybody knows it. It's life changing. Like it is literally like I would not be the person I am today. No joke, no exaggeration. Had I not viewed that scene during some moments in my life, like that scene really gets me going, and like I don't know, it's beautiful, and like just the Spider-Man storytelling and like the representation of being a superhero and what it means in the Marvel universe, so good. It's way better than anything the MCU has ever done, I think. So good.
I agree with you. Definitely, that's definitely on like a list, like definitely a top 10 for me. I feel like those movies definitely like have like a lot to offer, especially like offering a fresh perspective on a new Spider-Man and just seeing like how he maneuvers through his environment. Like I love it, and definitely it was criminal, but I love. It's definitely a top 10 for me. Definitely top 10.
Okay, then the next one, a little controversial. I got 2 Batman movies on here. Mask of Phantasm almost made it. Sorry, Mask of Phantasm, but we have The Batman. Is my first one. That is my favorite superhero movie theater experience I think I ever had. The Batman. I went to a fan first screening with my friend, so I got to see it about like 4 or 5 days before it came out. And there's this big countdown on the screen, and it's counting down to when the movie's gonna start. But we thought it was like counting down to when the trailers would start. So we thought after this like 5-minute time or whatever it was, the trailers start. The movie started right away. Like, and hearing like Ave Maria, and then just experiencing that story for the first time, and then seeing a character that I have grown to love over the years be done such justice was great. It was so cool to see it. Matt Reeves' vision for Batman is so respectful to the comics, and like you can tell that he closely read. Like I like The Dark Knight, but it doesn't like.
I feel like it's overrated.
I think a little bit.
Sorry,
as a superhero movie, as a movie, it's great.
As a movie, it's great, but I feel like for like it's regarded as one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. I feel like there's a lot better ones.
Yeah, and it is very good, but I don't know. The Batman just captures everything I love about Batman, and I want to talk about this scene where he's talking to Alfred, and he's like, "I thought I got over my parents' death. Like I thought I overcame this, but it's still a part of me. It's still hurting me." It's such like a really, you talk about mental health, like a really valid representation of trauma, and that trauma lives on inside of us even after we think we've gotten through something. And he's using the Batman identity to cope. Bruce Wayne is non-existent. Like he's lost in this world of being Batman. And there's that scene when Alfred gets hurt and he is like all on the floor, and like he is very mentally ill, Batman. And I think that you kind of have to be to do what he does. And the Riddler is a cool villain. I think it's a really interesting spin on the character. I mean, he has some moments that can be a little maybe viewed as cringe, and I see where people are coming from, but I think overall his character talks about how scary it feels like a real world thing. It's scary.
It does, and like kind of how like society and power structures neglect those like most vulnerable to them. You know, just that aspect, because
and how dangerous neglect can be.
Exactly. Yeah, and just like even connecting like it's like Batman's parents, being them as the underlying, characters in this, film, just like Thomas Wayne's programs, like, Yeah.
And like the cast too, so good. Not Robert Pattinson is the best Batman, live action Batman. Kevin Conroy is obviously the best of all time, and nobody will come close to him ever.
Michael Keaton.
Nah, I disagree, dude. I hard disagree right there. I respect it for being, different, but hard disagree. Okay. Kevin Conroy is the GOAT.
No, Kevin. I'm saying live action though.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Okay, so you agree with me that Kevin Conroy is best overall?
Best overall, but I'm saying if we're talking about strictly live action, it's key.
Okay, then that's fair. That's a good take. As long as you're not saying Ben Affleck, I'm fine.
No.
Or George Clooney. Yeah, the Batman's great. The cast is fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. The cast is fantastic. And the Penguin. Did you watch the Penguin?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Won a bunch of like Emmys and stuff. Like that is a good series. I love that version of the Penguin, honestly. And Penguin's not a character I'm like crazy about. You know, he's the Penguin, but they make him really interesting. It's a fresh take on him.
I love the idea of like the sympathetic like villain and like that they're trying to body that within a lot of like characters in the media now. Like you see that with Penguin, but then obviously at the end you see what happens at the end. I'm not gonna really spoil it, but you just show that he's always gonna be evil. He's never gonna change. He's not that type. But at the first episode, you see this much different take on him. Like you see, just him being like humanized, like him with his mom, and
he's like a Tony Soprano type character.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Which is such a cool. Yeah. Really cool. This is gonna be a crowd pleaser. Everybody's gonna clap at this one. The Lego Batman movie, obviously. That is just like, it's crazy and it should not work on paper, but it is such a like important piece of Batman to me, and it's such a perfect representation, specifically his relationship with the Joker. Like they have like straight up romantic tension in that movie. It's insane. Like their friendship is painted as borderline romantic, which is what it should be. Like they are insane, those two, and their cat and mouse game is more interesting than the Joker himself. So the fact that they play on that, and the fact that like you're my greatest supervillain, and that's like a title, that is really good. And it's so funny, and like, but also like I said, it nails the character of Batman, that he wants to be alone, and it has all these great character moments, and it's just such a good movie. I love that movie. Just such a cool and fun and fresh animated movie, an animated superhero movie. Have you seen like a Batman movie?
I have.
It's goated.
I have. Yeah. The games are goated too. Love the
games. Yes. All right, and then next, Logan, which I was gonna talk. I was gonna talk about before, and Logan is so good. That one is one that almost brings me to tears every time I watch it. Like the ending when he does his like final berserker rage is insane. It's elite. The action is great in that, but also like the character moments are tragic. Like what happens on the farm when the clone comes in, it's
that was
horrible, gut wrenching, really like sad, and it's just a really fresh and cool spin on like the whole like traveling the wasteland, the apocalypse with daughter type like Last of Us kind of thing, and I think it really works very well. My last favorite, and this is a movie that I think every like 2000s kid grew up on, and is super important and is integral to my love of superheroes, but Spider-Man 2.
Word.
Just like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is the GOAT. Yeah. That is a classic movie. Like I love Spider-Man 1. I actually think Spider-Man 1 is close to it. I think they're both really, really good. Spider-Man 1 is underrated. It's an underrated superhero movie in my opinion. But Spider-Man 2 just captures so much of what makes Spider-Man special. Like everything he goes through, he gets like beat down in that movie, but he still like prevails on top. Like the Spider-Man No More arc that's like adapted loosely in that is so good. Doc Ock is a really great Spider-Man villain too, and like the tentacle scene, bro, straight out of a horror movie.
The hospital,
bro. Like Sam Raimi is a horror director, so he really nails those scenes really well.
I love that. I also love like this showing Peter at a pivotal point in his life where he's being tested and challenged, and like him losing his eye of the tiger, but then him gaining it back.
Yeah, exactly. So good. And when everybody picks him up and he's like, he's just a kid, and they put them so good. Like really just representation of what superheroes mean to people. And we're so excited to share this with the community, and figure out where we want to go with this. Like it's very exciting.
For the fans, by the fans. We just want to see just explore different topics in comics, whether that being reviewing a comic, or just hitting up a comic store, seeing what they're about, talking to indie creators and, aspiring artists, aspiring writers, because they're the future of this industry.
Yeah.
And
we just want to, this comic book fans get a bad rap because a lot of them are toxic and not welcoming. Also, as comic book fans, we both, I think, want to grow and learn more about comics and the history and the community. So we're excited to announce that for our next episode, you want to say what our next episode is going to be about?
We're going to go to a local comic book store.
Yes.
Yo!
We are going to interview a local comic book store, which is like the epicenter of all of this. It's these are the people that bring this love to people like me and Quincy, and that lead us to be here. So we're going to interview a local comic book shop owner, and we're going to see a bunch of factors that go into owning a comic book store, what his love for comics came from, and we're really, really excited to share that with you guys and go from here. If you're somebody that is into comics, like, welcome, and please tune in.
For sure.
Like,
and if you have anything that you guys want us to talk about, feel free to DM us, comment us. We would love to talk about it. We want to build connection with you guys, because after all, this is for y'all. You know, we're also trying to learn too. As aspiring content creators and also comic book fans alike. So we want to build connect. So yeah.
Yeah. This is the Illustrator Underground signing off.
Peace
Bye-bye,
out, y'all.
everyone.